Hi, I'm talking to Leanne Kaye. Leanne is a UK-trained midwife and CEO and co-founder of Night Nanny International. Hi, Leanne, how are you?
Hi, I'm great, thanks. Good morning.
Hi, Leanne. Leanne, today we're going to talk a little bit about sleep patterns and babies. What would you say to a new mom are the top 3 things to try and do in establishing a good sleep pattern for your newborn?
Okay, so the first thing is to have, when you bring your baby home, to have everything ready that that you feel comfortable and confident with. The baby will always feel how comfortable and confident you are when you're putting your baby down. So the 3 things that I would say when you're bringing your baby home is have the right equipment, the right baby bed, so that you feel happy. The recommendation is that the baby spends at least the first 6 months in your room. So either the baby can have a co-sleeper or a crib at the end of your bed, or be in your bed. But with co-sleeping, I would say make sure you understand exactly how to co-sleep safely. So yeah, the 3 tips would be: make sure you've got the equipment, which includes the bedding for the baby. And I love grow bags. I think they take out a lot of the stress when bringing a new baby home. And they're all over the world now. They're basically like baby sleeping bags, which zip up and mean that you don't have to worry about covers going over the baby's head or being, tucked in perfectly. And it gets rid of that worry and often makes babies feel more content. So definitely have the right sleep clothes for the baby, for the temperature, and the right bed, and the right temperature in the house. So often people phone me and say, what temperature should the room be for my baby? Some of the grow bags now, actually, they're sold with these little thermometers inside, which really, really help. And depending on, it's all very relative, depending on the external temperature. For example, they say the ideal temperature for a baby to sleep is between 18 and 21. But for those of us in warmer climates, and definitely here, they say around 22, 23 is a good temperature. So that's great information for you. But what I want to say in my tips is to make sure you can regulate that temperature in your home and get that sorted, before you get home. So you're not phoning me or phoning anybody going, I don't know what to do. I don't know what temperature to have for the baby when I get home. So yeah, temperature, sleeping clothes, and the bed itself, they're my three things to get ready.
And what would be some of your tips that moms or parents should avoid doing in order to create bad sleep patterns in children?
So I would say up to the first 4 to 6 months, don't worry too much. I've mentioned that you have this 4th trimester where the baby doesn't know it's been born, the baby hasn't read the book, and the baby just wants to be cuddled, held, comforted, and know that you're there. Therefore, I don't believe you can spoil a baby. But on that spectrum, I'm definitely like on the middle ground. I don't believe in carrying, holding, co-sleeping for everybody. Not every woman wants that. Not every woman can cope with that, and that's fine as well. I think the thing to say is you can't spoil a baby. If your baby's crying and needs cuddling, cuddle the baby until the baby's around 4 to 6 months. It is good to get the baby used to being put down awake and allow the baby to nod off to sleep if possible. But I wouldn't get overly fixated that you're breastfeeding and the baby's fallen asleep breastfeeding. You're going to take the baby off the boob, wake the baby up to put the baby down in their bed. I'd say, okay, just relax about that whole scenario and worry more about everybody getting some rest in those early days. But the best habits, I can say, good or bad, are not to take the baby out too much. I met a baby sleep specialist recently who's lovely, and she believes in not traveling with the baby, not leaving the house unless essential for the first 8 weeks. So we all run around and we go in malls and we do all these things and go to feel a sort of pressure to be out of the house and living. And it was really interesting because she said the most successful sleeping, babies that sleep well have often been left be. That first 8, 9 weeks, she really believes is for the baby to have a quiet environment round the clock. You know, if you've got other siblings, it's a little bit more difficult to put in place. But within, if I say that to you within reason, I would say keep the excursions to a minimum in that first month to 6 weeks. Like, you're going to be tired anyway. Like, don't put so much pressure on yourself and on that sort of the new relationship that you have with your baby. You know, slowly you can start having a few little outings, but don't be out all day.
Keeping in context with the sleeping and, you know, keeping the baby home in the beginning, then we get the other scenario where later on a lot of parents don't want to take the babies out because they don't want to break routine. So there's this dilemma. Do you take your babies out and get them used to noise and being able to fall asleep in light or darkness or noise? What are your thoughts with regard to people who say, no, I don't want to take my baby out because I don't want to break their routine?
I think there's different answers for different stages. Like I said, the first 2 months, in some respects, I think we overdo it and we go out too much. But I wouldn't stay in at the detriment of the mother sort of feeling isolated and needing to go out. The mother also needs to go out and see and be outside. And if you're breastfeeding, it's very hard to leave your baby in the first 2 months. So, you know, it's not going out every day, all day, and it's definitely set it. I do believe that within reason, occasionally if you're invited out to family, you want to go to the mall and get things, like, live, but don't overdo it. And also, it will only benefit you to get into a nice rhythm at home. I don't believe in strict scheduling of 8:15, have a biscuit and shut the curtains. You know, 9:15, go and wake the baby, have a cup of tea, which is very British. There's one guru that swears by all of this, very, very regimented. But I do believe that we all need and we all thrive on a light scheduling. So, for example, 5 o'clock in the evening is wind down time, you know, and that stays from when the baby's very, you know, a few weeks old, right the way through the baby's early childhood. That at some point you have to sort of start winding down the day. And they know that they've proven that even as adults, we need that. You can't, you know, I've often done night shifts and I've come in at 8 o'clock in the morning and I'd love to just get into bed and maximize those amount of hours I've got to sleep. But the reality is our bodies don't function that way. We need a little bit of time to calm down and acclimatize to, okay, I'm going to go to sleep soon. And babies are the same, and it's conditioning. And they also get used to that. I always say to new mums, straight away, is even if the baby's not dirty, is have a rhythm where 5 o'clock you have that last feed, then you might do bath time, the preliminary feed, then you might do bath time and change time, and then another breastfeed, you know, dim lights, calm the noises in the house down, and have that. I do believe in having a regular routine, but I don't believe in never ever going anywhere. And that's the other extreme where mothers tend to feel that I can't go out, baby's got to go to bed, or it's 2 o'clock, baby's got to be asleep. And I think the best way to go about it is having a flexibility. So occasionally your baby will have one routine for day out and one routine for staying at home. You know, that they get used to both, that there is a sense. For example, my baby will now understand that we're at the pool, he has a shower at the pool, he gets put into pajamas, he gets to have a feed, and then we're going in the car, and it's almost like he's already conditioned that, okay, I'm going to fall asleep now. And often it works beautifully, and we can transfer him from the car to the bed, and he'll sleep. You know, he'll sleep through the night. But that also can't be good every night. It's better to have that calm down routine. I think it's great for parents. Parents need it almost more than the babies need it, to know that there's this changeover, because in the early days, night and day are very, very similar. You know, give you 3-hourly feeding, changing nappies. So just to know that, okay, we're all going to get into pajamas, we're all going to dim the lights and have quiet time, you know, whether it's TV or whatever families do. I do believe that really helps.
This concept, or relatively new concept, of night nannies. What exactly is a night nanny, and what is the benefit to a family in having a night nanny?
Okay, so the concept of night nanny isn't so new. There's been baby nurses, maternity nurses. They're called all different things all over the world. Often it might be a fairly new concept to actually have somebody that can come and go. Often in the past, people had a maternity nurse to stay for 6 weeks, And they did the days and they did the nights, and they were there to be on hand, and they were a qualified nurse. Night nanny is somebody that comes and does a shift from 10 in the evening till 6 in the morning. The other choice is 11 till 7, but generally 10 till 6 is the preferred. And she comes to your home a bit like the superhero. You know, she's coming to save the day for the tired mummy. And the idea is that the mummy and daddy, or whoever, you know, significant, go to sleep. They get to sleep all night, ideally. And the night nanny feeds the baby, takes care of the baby. Her roles also include, when she arrives, the night nanny will organise the feeds for the night, do any washing and sterilising of the bottles. So in the morning, it's like she's not been there. The bottles are like ready to go for the next day, and everything's organised. And the nannies are trained. Sometimes if women are breastfeeding, they are able to give some breastfeeding advice. And you can now choose whether you want a nanny that's a qualified nurse or somebody that isn't a qualified nurse that has done a training course. I do a training course for nannies that tend to be, they vary. There is the slightly mature women that have been there and done that and got children themselves. And then there's the age group from around 25 plus that haven't necessarily had their own kids, but they've done a longer training program in order to get them ready to be a night nanny, to look after the babies at night. And the advantage of that is that I really feel is giving the service a broader scope. It costs less. Originally it would cost anywhere from 750 to 1,000 shekels a night to have a night nanny, being a qualified nurse, and now I'm able to drop those prices because you're not necessarily getting a qualified nurse. Now they're very qualified and they're very safe and they're fully insured and trained and vetted by Night Nanny International, but they can come out from around 500, 550 shekels, so you can see that it's a big difference. And sometimes you might want to book a night nanny because you're going to a wedding and you're going to be travelling home late, or you want to extend it and actually have a night in a hotel, and you know that you're leaving a baby with somebody who's specifically trained and specialised in baby care. We do some of those luxurious trips where couples have gone away, but also for the business trip, where you might want the nanny to either come with you and be in the hotel, or to stay at home with your baby so you can go and do the overnight trip for business.
One last question with regards to sleep. Can you recommend any good sleep books for parents to read?
Sure. There are several. There are at least 10 on the market at any given moment being published as we speak. I'm going to stick my head out, stick my neck on the line and say that might be helpful, that I don't like the Gina Ford, the Contented Baby. I think her formulas work. It's a very British take on baby rearing, and very, very strict. It's very, very popular. It's all over the place. My question is she a mother? No. And I've done this work. I did this work way before becoming a mother myself, and delivered babies, and then after. And I have to say, it does have an impact. I'm a different midwife. I'm a different sleep expert. I'm a different breastfeeding counselor because I've now done it myself. So just a tip. I don't really like her book. It is effective. It will have your baby sleeping, but you have to be very willing to commit to a very, very strict routine. Now, the books that I love Elizabeth Pantley. She has a book called The No Price Sleep Solution, and she's now got a book for toddlers, and she's branched out and done like 3 or 4 different books. But the original book of The No Price Sleep Solution is a great book. She is a mummy. She's a mummy of 5, and it really helps you understand how to gently teach your baby to sleep. And it's also a great book to get, even if you're still pregnant, because like we were talking about the tips of this day and night and putting your baby down awake, there's a lot of little things that you can instill before the baby's sort of at that 4 to 6 month stage. And she's also very realistic. Like, what is a night's sleep anyway? The reason why Night Nanny is so successful and people want to pay for the service is because they suddenly realise, the reality dawns, that sleeping through the night for a baby is not necessarily 7 in the evening to 7 in the morning, and it's not necessarily 10 till 7. Sleeping through the night in baby language happens to be midnight till around 5:36, if you're lucky. That kind of, the first time they sleep through the night, what women are talking about is actually a 5-6 hour slot of sleep, which for some women is just like, I'm not sleeping all night. It's not really enough. Yeah.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
Okay, thank you.
Excellent.